Back in 1979, a very successful film was made called Alien. Well, because of its success and because Sigourney Weaver was the only survivor, they decided to do Alien 2. And they think this is going to be a big success. I would like you to meet the producer, whose name is Gale Anne Hurd. And welcome you to Nebraska, Gale.
Thank you.
And find out if you had to look at that initial film and really study it closely to decide what was right about this film so that we can do another sequel to it. Did you study it? Did you examine it? How did you approach it?
Actually, Jim and I had a different approach to a sequel. We screened Alien one time to get an overall impression. And instead of scrutinizing it very, very closely the way a scientist would examine a subject or an object, we instead tried to respond to it a little bit more viscerally. And really, the sequel evolved from there.
Well, when you looked at the initial one, though, what were the key elements that you felt that made it a success? I mean, you had to say there was something there that we'll do something with that. What were the highlights, in your opinion, of that film? Because I can tell you what I remember. I had no idea, of course, that I'd be coming here and talking to you about its sequel. And as I looked back and remembered, you know, the thing that stuck in my mind most of all was the thing jumping out of John Hurt's chest as he was on the table. So I said to myself, let's see, the alien, oh yeah, that was the thing jumped out of his chest. So that's what I remembered, that thing.
There seemed to be two key elements that people responded to from the first film. Territory we really didn't want to cover again, and that was basically the shock of the chest burster coming out of John Hurt's chest. And the second thing was the cat. People tended to remember the fact that there was a cat in this film. Which
Jonesy.
Jonesy, exactly. Even though it wasn't a major character, it was something that people responded to.
You know why?
Why?
Because I think they thought that the thing was inside the cat, with Sigourney and the cat coming back to our known world, and that if there were to be a sequel, the thing would jump out of the cat.
Well, they're going to have to go see Aliens, won't they, to see
Oh, yes. Well, tell us, what does the producer do, Gale?
In this case, as producer, I took the screenplay, which Jim Cameron, the director, had also written, and put together the creative elements, the key crew members, created the budget and the shooting schedule.
Well, how can you know, really, how much a film is going to cost? There's so many things that get out of control.
That's really my job, is to make sure that it doesn't become a runaway locomotive. And you do that by constantly keeping a mental tally going of checks and balances. You might exceed in one category, and you've got to anticipate savings in other categories, and you've got to keep all those balls in the air throughout the whole shooting period, which is when all the money is
You seem
spent.
very efficient. There is an aura of efficiency about you.
You've got to be. If you're disorganized, that's when the problems become crises.
You know, you're pretty enough that you could be one of the actors. Are you ever interested in being in front of the camera as opposed to behind it?
No, I leave that to the people who are really talented in that craft. You've really got to be very, very aware of your emotions and let yourself go, and that's something that producers can't do very often.
You're controlled. You're more controlled.
Right.
You're not going to let it go. In 1977, she graduated Phi Beta Kappa, I might add, congratulations, from Stanford, in communications and economics.
Correct.
Did that prepare you to go into the movie business?
I think it prepared me in terms of a disciplined attitude and a disciplined approach. And it pushed me in the right direction, and it got me my first job. And that's what this industry is all about, really, is preparing yourself so that when you get that first job, you do well by it, and you can continue to move up.
What was the first job, Gale?
My first job was working as Roger Corman's executive assistant at New World Pictures.
You mean Roger Corman, the guy who did all of those B pictures, some of which became cult classics, I think in particular The Little Shop of Horrors?
Exactly, which is being remade right now.
Well, anyway, that's a little aside. Gale is married to the director. Now, you two must be both workaholics. How on earth do you handle your schedules?
Well, our schedules really rule our lives to a certain extent. We're completely committed to the films that we're making, and then when we're finished, which is one good aspect of filmmaking, is that when you're done, you're done. When the film's in the can, you don't have to worry about it anymore, except insofar as what the audience reaction is, which is really why we're in this business to begin with, is to deliver a product to the audience that they'll want to see. But once that's behind you, you can play.
They can play then.
Yes.
Yeah. Gale also produced The Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I must ask you, Gale, can Arnold Schwarzenegger really act, or is it just his presence that is the key?
I think the key to Arnold is his charisma and his presence. And I think in Terminator he did act. I really think he did. If you watch him, you'll see that he kept foremost in his mind the fact that he was playing a robot. He didn't blink. He really tried to figure out in advance what his motions would be that would be the most efficient motions in terms of picking up a gun, walking, to make it seem very, very robot-like.
Well, here's the lady behind the scenes, the lady who handles the budget and tells them what to do. Her name is Gale Anne Hurd, and she's the producer of Aliens. Please stay with us. A lot more to come as the morning show continues.